Hello everyone and welcome back to Beatley Tone's Beatles channel. Lovely to have you here. Thanks for joining me for this video and I hope you're all doing well. Now I wanted to start off this video just giving a big thank you to everybody who turned up for my very first live stream last Sunday. It was absolutely fantastic. I had an absolute blast. It was really great speaking to you all live, and I can't believe how many people turned up. At its peak, we had over 100 people on the stream, which is just amazing. It's just amazing. I was worried before that nobody would turn up, and I'd just be sitting there like a lonely turd, waiting for someone to say hi. But that wasn't the case at all. There was absolutely loads of you on there, and the chat just kept coming and coming and coming, and we ended up going on for nearly 3 hours and still had to leave a few comments at the end unanswered, so apologies for that if that was one of yours. But it was gone 2 a.m. in the morning here, so I had to sort of draw the line somewhere. Now I realised that the stream that we did on Sunday was not a brilliant time if you were in Europe or in the UK. So the next one that we do will be a much more Europe and UK friendly time. It will be a sort of a mid-evening thing, and maybe do that in a couple of weeks or so. But more information on that nearer the time, I guess. But really fantastic, and thank you so much everyone who was there and everyone who's watched it on catch up and left nice comments. That's really great. Now, one of the things that came up quite a few times in the chat were people wanting to talk about the Beatles live at the Stow School recording and the possibility of that coming out as a commercial release. Now, having now listened to it, now we've got here in the UK, we've got the British Library, which has got a copy of this recording, and you can go there, and we've got two of them, one here in London and one up in Yorkshire in Leeds, and you can just go there and you can go and listen to it for free. But it has now turned up on YouTube, as things inevitably do. There's a bootleg that's come out of Japan. It's a 2 CD bootleg. One CD is the recording as it is that you would hear at the British Library. I'm sure that's where they got the recording from. I'm not sure how they got it, but that's pretty much where they got it from. And the second CD is like an AI enhanced version of it, which I have also listened to, and I have to say it doesn't really enhance it that much. Now, the main sort of takeaway from this recording, I have now listened to it, and is that the sound quality is really poor. You know, if you think that this album, Live at the Star Club Hamburg, is a little bit rough around the edges, then I can assure you that the Stow School Gig is about 5 times worse. But I'm going to come onto it. What I thought I would do is I would talk about, having listened to it, I'd go through the track listing, give you my thoughts on each track, and then at the end we'll talk about what the possibility is of this being released. But when I say the sound quality is really poor, for a start, there is absolutely no bass whatsoever, no bass guitar. You cannot hear the bass guitar in this at all, and the vocals are really low in the mix. And if you have a look at this picture, you'll see why. You'll see that the two, the PA, vocal PA speakers, very small speakers, just sitting on little tables, so they're not up in the air or anything. So they're not projecting the sound forward. And my impression is that the guy who recorded it, I think his name is John Bloomhill, he's one of the pupils from the school, recorded it on a reel-to-reel tape recorder. I'm thinking that his seat is probably somewhere, fairly near the front of the stage, but he's probably more on the side that George Harrison is standing, because you can hear George's guitar is really loud on this recording. You can literally hear everything that he does, including the cock-ups, but the vocals are very quiet in most cases. The drums are pretty loud as well. You can really hear Ringo sort of really ripping it up on some of the tracks, but the vocals, the main thing, the vocals are very low in the mix, and that doesn't make it a good recording. But anyway, we're going to go through the tracks, and I'll tell you what I think of them, and then at the end of the video we'll talk about the possibility of getting this as a commercial recording. So as I said, the recording was made by one of the students called John Bloomfield. He recorded it on a reel-to-reel tape recorder, and the gig took place on the 4th of April 1963. So it's like a couple of weeks after the Please Please Me album came out, and some of the tracks from Please Please Me are featured in the set list. Now the gig went on for an hour, and as you know, once sort of Beatlemania took hold, you were lucky if you got 20-25 minutes out of the Beatles. So it's, you know, it's historic in that sense that it's, you know, such a long gig, not compared with what they did in Hamburg, but you know, for a gig on a tour, they were, you know, playing longish sets. Now there's 22 songs, and as I say, I think that the audience, you can hear the audience warm up as the gig goes on, and although sort of reports say that the microphone was of the tape recorder was placed at the front of the stage, it sounds like it's further back than that, and sort of in the middle of the audience, because the audience, when you hear the audience are really loud, louder than the band themselves. So the gig kicks off with I Saw Her Standing There, and you know, Paul's vocal very low in the mix, but the drums are nice and loud, and Ringo is sort of really ripping it up. George messes up the guitar solo. I think, you know, obviously when bands play live, you know, the guitar solo is not always exactly as it is on the recording, but the first half of George's guitar solo sounds different, whereas the second half of the guitar solo sounds note perfect to what we know from the Please Please Me album. So I can only assume that he probably you know, cocked it up. And as I said, like throughout this whole thing, you cannot hear any bass guitar whatsoever, and the audience cheer at the end, and the cheers are louder than the band are. Next up is Too Much Monkey Business, sung by John, where the vocals are a little bit louder, and George really rips up the solo in that one. The next track is Love Me Do. John's on harmonica, you can hear the harmonica, and you can hear the audience are starting to warm up. They're clapping during the song as it goes through, and it's a slightly different version played by the band, where they kind of do that you know, stagnated sort of drum beat, you know, during the Someone to Love, Someone Like You. That's that part of the song which we've heard on one of the early demos of Love Me Do. They then go into Some Other Guy. The vocals are pretty much inaudible on that, and you know, George's guitar is just drowning out everything apart from the drums. Next song is the second song from Please Please Me, Misery, and this works much better because it's a quieter song, so you can hear the vocals a little bit more. There's a big cheer for George when he does that, his, you know, dun 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 part, which is actually played on the piano, I believe, on the record, but George is doing it on the guitar live. It comes to an abrupt end because obviously the song on the album is a fade out, so they have to work out an ending when they play it live, and they haven't quite nailed that yet. The next track is a song called I Just Don't Understand. John's on vocals, and again, George is very, very loud on this, but the song sounds great. The The next track is a shot of rhythm and blues, which we heard them do on the BBC and that sort of stuff. And on that, unfortunately, the vocals again are pretty much inaudible. Now, George doesn't get any lead vocals during this set for some reason, but Ringo gets two, and they're concurrent, they're one after the other. So the first one is Boys, obviously. You can hear Ringo singing very well on this, but they play it at a slower tempo than the song on the Please Please Me album. That is followed by Matchbox, which Ringo also sings, but his cymbal is so loud it pretty much drowns out his vocals. The song sounds really, really messy and almost unlistenable. The next song is From Me to You, which obviously hasn't been released yet. There's no harmonica in it, and the vocals are quite clear. It's one of the best. The harmonica solo in the middle is played on guitar. Now, throughout this whole gig, there is in between song banter pretty much between every single song, but it is mostly inaudible. I tried turning the sound up, but when you do turn the sound up, you can hear there's quite a loud hum on the tape as well. But I did pick up Paul's intro from From Me to You, where he turns around to the others and says, "What's it called?" What's it called? Anyway, so he then introduces it as he gets told what it's called and introduces it as From Me to You. That is followed by It's B-side, Thank You Girl, and the vocals are audible again, but again the guitar, George's guitar and the drums dominate this song, and the crowd get excited towards the end of the song when Ringo does his little flourish fills that are at the end of that song. The next song, Memphis, Tennessee. Now this to me sounds like this is John on his own. John singing, obviously, and it sounds like it's John playing guitar as well, because there is a solo, but it's totally messed up and just doesn't sound like a George solo. So I've got a feeling that song may be just John on his own. There's certainly no drums in it. And I can't really hear George's guitar, which is so loud on everything else. The next track, Taste of Honey, Paul sings, obviously, and again, because it's a quieter song, the vocals are much clearer. Ringo is on brushes, and then we move on to Twist and Shout. And despite the sort of the guitar dominating again, the vocals and the backing vocals are all audible. The R's work and are audible as well. And the crowd gets excited towards the end. I had the feeling that they're actually laughing at something, so maybe John was maybe goofing about or something like that. But at the end of the song, it gets the biggest cheer so far in the gig. Track 15 is Anna from Please Please Me. This one, again, is a quieter song, so the vocals are mostly quite audible during this song. The next track is Please Please Me. For me, the best song of the entire set. The vocals are not bad on this at all, and Ringo is absolutely killing it on the drums. The next song, Hippie Hippie Shake, I've just written in my notes, messy and noisy. The next track, another cover, I'm Talking About You, and again you're hearing the excitement in the crowd building during this song. The next song is Ask Me Why. This is a song that they know very well. They've been playing this live since Hamburg. So again, the vocal, because it's quieter, the vocal is audible and they play it well. Now, at the end of that song, there are lots of shouts from the audience for Ringo. You just hear his name being shouted out over and over again. The band then go into Till There Was You. It seems to me that this is just Paul and George. I can't really hear any input from John on this, and there's no drums. Paul's vocal is audible, but it's still too quiet. Then the next song is Money, which obviously they're playing, they're playing the riff on guitars rather than the piano that is on with the Beatles version. But this cuts out after 30 seconds, and we're to assume that the tape has run out. And an audience member who's spoken about this has a memory that they also played Sweet Little 16 and Long Tall Sally after Money, but those aren't recorded. I'm guessing John is changing the reel on the tape. He's putting a new tape in, and so the final song on the album is another version of I Saw Her Standing There. So they'd obviously run out of material. Maybe they were doing this as an encore, although the Beatles didn't generally do encores. Once they became famous, once they said it was the last song, it really was the last song. But this version of I Saw Her Standing There, much better than the opening track. George absolutely nails the solo. And in the opening track, where the oohs are, they were replaced by O's rather than oohs. But on this final version, the oohs are back. And it's excellent. It's a very good version of I Saw Her Standing There. So that was everything that they played that night, a whole hour of material. And as I said before, you don't really get many Beatles gigs that are an hour long. They're playing songs from Please Please Me, which again is historical, and as a historic piece, this has got great value, very much like the Star Club Hamburg tapes. Now, this was recorded only 4 months after the Star Club Hamburg album, and so it's a very similar period. And I must admit that I don't play the Hamburg album very often. I can probably count on 2 or 3 hands, if I had 2 or 3 hands, the amount of times that I've listened to it in its entirety since it came out in 1977. But I did have a listen to it before I did this review because I wanted to make a comparison. And as I said earlier, the quality of the Star Club Hamburg recording outshines this by a mile. So from a historical point of view, the Stow School Gig is very important. From a musical point of view, not very important at all. And I think that it's for me, this is kind of Carnival of Light syndrome, where everybody wants it until the point when they hear it, and once they've heard it, they probably feel that they don't need to go back to it again. And that, having heard the entire tape, that's kind of how I feel. I'm glad that I've heard it, but I know that if I had this as a record, I wouldn't play it very often, I don't think. I know that I wouldn't. I don't feel as if I need to hear it again, having heard it. Now, what are the chances of this coming out as a commercial release? Now, at the moment, I would say pretty slim. Now, obviously, it's out there now as it was, but for a commercial release, this recording is just not good enough. The vocals are not loud enough. There is no bass. George Harrison's guitar overshadows everything on pretty much every song. And so what could they do to improve it? Well, I don't know. We know that one thing that we do know is that Peter Jackson is not going to get involved with this. The reason that I say that, well, as things stand, Peter Jackson is not going to get involved in this, because as things stand, Peter Jackson's MAL technology has been given exclusively to Apple. And Apple turned down the opportunity to buy this tape, so they don't own it at the moment. So there's Peter Jackson's MAL technology is out of the question at the moment, and that doesn't mean to say that you know, some other company could develop something similar to that. But I'm just wondering, if even if that was the case, how good could they make it? Because, as I said, the bass guitar is inaudible. I can't hear any bass whatsoever. So you can't say, that's a bass, go and get the bass and put it on a track, because you can't hear the bass. And obviously the you know, the rest of the stuff could be improved, I guess. You know, you could make you know, the drums quieter, you could make George Harrison's guitar quieter, and presumably you could make the vocals louder, but I don't think you're going to be able to do anything about the lack of bass, which makes it really tricky. So, you know, those are my overall thoughts. I'd love to hear what you think about this. Now, as I say, you don't have to go to the British Library to hear it. You can hear it on YouTube if you just search for the Beatles Stowe School Gig. You will find several videos and you can listen to the whole thing. So go and listen to it and come back and tell me what you think of it, because I'll be really interested to know if your opinions are kind of in line with mine. I've tried to give a really honest review of this gig, but I would love to hear what you think about it. So please, down in the comments, do tell me, go over and listen to it and tell me what you think of it. I'd love to hear from you. You know, I read all your comments and I will respond to all your comments as well. If you've liked this video, please spend just 1 second of your life by hitting that like button. Give the video a like. It does me a big favor and helps the channel and helps the videos get out there. So please give the video a like. If you just stumbled across this video by accident, please consider supporting the channel by subscribing. Love to have you on board. Okay, that is it from me for now. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye bye.